You know when you see a huge problem out in the world and just think, wow, that is way too big to fix. Well, today, we're going to flip that script entirely. We're going to dive into a mindset that looks at those massive challenges not as dead ends, but as the actual starting point for creating something amazing.
So let's kick things off with a pretty basic question. Now, the answer might seem obvious, but it's the key that unlocks, well, everything else we're about to talk about. What's the real, fundamental difference between a problem that's just yours and one that affects a whole society?
And boom, this slide just lays it out perfectly. One student failing an exam, that's a personal problem, a personal challenge. But when you have thousands or even millions of students who can't get a quality education, well, that's a social problem. And look, the difference isn't just the number of people. It's about some kind of deep systemic barrier getting in the way for a whole group.
Okay, so now that we see the difference, let's really dig in and dissect what makes a social problem tick. You know, understanding its size, its scale, and its core ingredients, that's the absolute first step if you ever hope to find a real solution. And you know what makes this lesson so powerful is where it comes from. This is all based on work from the Flying Wings online school. Now, they operate in places like Afghanistan, where these huge systemic challenges aren't just ideas in a textbook, they are everyday life. This really grounds our whole conversation in something very, very real.
So here it is. This is kind of the formula. A true social problem has 3 key ingredients. First, it affects a whole lot of people. Second, it's tied to these bigger systemic barriers. You know, the invisible walls built by the economy or culture or just the lack of basic infrastructure. And finally, and this is crucial, one person can't fix it alone. It needs a creative, collective approach.
And that brings us to the big pivot point, the mindset shift. This is that moment where we stop just seeing a problem and we start actively looking for the opportunity that's hiding inside it. This right here is how a change maker sees the world.
And that mindset in action, it has a name, social entrepreneurship. It's not just about pointing out what's wrong. It's about the whole process of designing and building a real, sustainable solution that actually improves lives for the long haul.
But hold on a second. You might be thinking, is this just a fancy word for charity, or is it just a regular business with a feel-good mission? Well, the answer is neither. It's this incredible hybrid of both. So let's break down how this unique model of purpose and profit really works.
This quote from our source material just nails it. It is a balance between purpose and income. See, it's not about choosing between doing good and making money. It's about creating a system where the two things actually fuel each other. When you put them side by side like this, the difference is just crystal clear. A traditional business, it's laser-focused on profit. Success is measured in dollars and cents. A social enterprise, though, is playing a totally different game. Its number one goal is creating a positive impact, but it's built on a business model that can sustain itself. The ultimate measure of success isn't the bottom line. It's how many lives you've changed for the better.
All right, theory is great and all, but let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world. We're going to check out 3 really powerful examples of how social entrepreneurs are tackling major problems right now. Okay, let's start with a really tough one. In some communities, girls are just shut out from going to school. It could be because of social rules or because it's just not safe. This isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a door slammed shut on their entire future.
So what's the entrepreneurial solution? Well, instead of trying to tear down that wall, you build a way to go around it. By creating an online learning platform, you can bring the classroom directly to the students, using technology to bypass all those physical and social barriers.
And this is where you can see the model in action. The social impact is massive. You're giving an education to girls who are completely denied it. And the business side of things, the engine that keeps it going, it could be small tuition fees or funding from partners. That makes it sustainable, so it doesn't have to rely on donations forever.
Okay, for our next example, just picture this. A community full of incredibly talented women, artisans, tailors, you name it. Their work is amazing, but their only customers are in their tiny village. All that economic potential is basically trapped by geography.
The solution here is like building a digital bridge. It's an e-commerce platform designed just for them, connecting their unique, handmade crafts directly to customers all over the world who are looking for exactly that kind of thing.
The social impact is immediate. You're creating economic empowerment for these women and their families. And the business model? It's just so elegant. It sustains itself through the sales it makes. It's a perfect win-win situation.
And for our last example, let's talk about an information crisis.
in so many places, basic life-saving health information. We're talking simple stuff about clean water or how to prevent diseases. It just never gets to the people who need it the most.
So the entrepreneurial fix is super nimble and smart. It's an initiative led by young people that uses the one piece of tech almost everyone has in their pocket, a mobile phone. They create and share these simple, clear health messages, spreading vital info from person to person.
The social impact here is huge. You get a healthier, more informed community. And to make sure it keeps going, the business model can be fueled by partnerships with health organizations, or maybe they offer some low-cost services. This creates a self-sustaining cycle of good information.
Now, after hearing all those amazing examples, it's really easy to think, wow, that's incredible, but I could never do something like that. So this last part is all about tearing down those common myths, those mental roadblocks that stop us from seeing that we all have a changemaker inside of us.
Okay, let's just shatter these myths one by one. The idea that only rich people can solve problems, that is completely false. Some of the biggest changes in history started with the smallest ideas. Think you need a ton of cash to get started? Wrong. Your skills, your passion, your creativity, those are your most powerful resources. And the old belief that helping just means giving free handouts, honestly, that's one of the least effective ways to create lasting change. A sustainable solution builds independence and makes an impact that can last for generations.
So I'll leave you with this challenge. Start looking at your own world, your own community, not just with an eye for problems, but with a lens for opportunities. What is one problem you see? Who does it affect? And how could you maybe solve it sustainably? It doesn't have to be a global plan. It just has to be real. And answering that question, well, that's the very first step on the path of a social entrepreneur.